Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Thank you for listening to another edition of the Dead End Sports Podcast. This is a weekly sports podcast. We like to call it the best couple of hours of your week. You've reached the place where sports opinions collide. I'm your host, 12 Kyle. Once again, we want to thank you for tuning in. We got a lot of stuff to talk about, a lot of great sports topics, a lot of football, basketball, and baseball, as well as the playoffs get started. Of course, I will not be doing this podcast alone. Joining me are my homies. First up the bat, my man Beezy, 430. Beezy, what up, though?
What up, though? What's up, Kyle? What's going on, y'all?
Chilling, man. Chilling. What's cracking?
Man, I'm on my yak and my black and mild tonight, baby.
No hen dog.
Man, when Shannon Sharp said that the look on Skip Bayless' face, he looked so confused. He didn't know what was going on. I'm looking at Skip like, bruh, there's something on there.
Shannon is way too black for Skip.
Right. But you know, I enjoy Shannon and Skip way better than I enjoy Stephen A. and Skip.
But you're right. But I agree with Kendo. First Take, they're better with top. Like, I mean, Undisputed. They just talk. I mean, how many times are you gonna talk about the Cowboys? They talk about the Cowboys literally 5 days out the week. No great topics and nothing. First Take got them on that. But right. I watch Undisputed just for Skip. I mean, just for Shannon, just because he's so black, man. I love it.
Yeah. A black and country too.
Yes. and do not care. Okay?
Unapologetically country.
I understand everything he's saying.
Of course you do. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the voice of the homie Ken. Ken, what's going on, man?
I am so thrilled because for the last 2 months, I've been working around the clock on the university's new website, and we are finally done. I was up until 3:30 this morning, wrapping up the last-minute changes and edits and stuff, and editing is the mic still on too while I was doing it. So yeah, it's turned over, and I get to get a little bit of my life back, man. Also
joining us is the homie FIFO. FIFO, man, what's going on?
Yo, what it do?
Chilling, man. Chilling. Ready to get into these sports topics. As I mentioned at the top, man, we got a lot of stuff to talk about. A lot of NFL, NBA. We're going to get some NBA talk in as well. And some Major League Baseball as the playoffs start this week. First up, man, let's talk about this. We had another crazy and wacky weekend in college football as well as the NFL. So, B, let's start right there. What stood out to you this past weekend with college football and or the NFL?
I didn't really catch that much college football, to be honest with you. But NFL, I told y'all about them Giants. Man. I know it's still 4 weeks in. They starting off on 4. And I think damn near all y'all picked them to win the NFC East. And y'all called me crazy for picking Washington Redskins. Which Washington Redskins? Huh?
Hold up. You did pick the Giants. Did you pick the Giants?
I thought you were laughing at me.
No, I had the Cowboys. We did laugh at you, B.
Yeah, we did.
But I mean, now that pick don't seem. I mean, Washington, even though they lost last night, but they played a hell of a game against
could have won
the Chiefs, man. Yeah, I mean, they fought. They balled out. They just couldn't get that win. But I still feel good at picking the Redskins. Like I said, to win that division ugly. And Chiefs, man, is Chiefs the real deal? Like I love about the NFL, like as far as we always got teams that's surprising. Nothing that stood out for me too is injuries, Kyle. Boy, they dropping like flies, and we only in week 4. We just starting to get to the bye weeks of the NFL season now, and folks are dropping off left and right, man. So, unfortunately with Carr, they say he's only gonna be out almost up to like 5 to 6 weeks, possibly.
Yeah, he's got the same David Carr for the Raiders. Yeah, he's got the same injury that Tony Romo had.
Yeah, so that as a franchise owner or someone that's kind of scary, because he's young. It's not like this guy is 34, 35 years old. Carr is young, so this could be something that can be lingering. So, but yeah, just the injuries and the fact that are the Chiefs the real deal? Man, that Detroit defense, man, I think the most balanced I've ever seen us before, man. I'm almost starting to believe that we can probably make a run at this year, man. The way our defense is playing. I mean, we already proved that we can score with the best of them.
Right.
And that defense play like they keep playing. And what I've noticed when I've been reading Detroit News and Detroit Free Press, these players are believing. Like they're believing the coach. They believe in everything. And when the whole organization, when the players start to believe, the sky's the limit at that point. So, we shall see. They got Carolina, I think, at Carolina. And then we come back. No, we got Carolina at home, and then we got a road game in New Orleans the next week. So, yeah, it's gonna be interesting, man. But yeah, I'm surprised with Detroit defense looking so good, and the Chiefs, man, they might be the real deal this season. They might be one of the cream of the crops of the AFC.
Okay. What about you, FIFO? College and NFL, man. What stood out to you this past weekend?
I'm gonna talk about the Georgia team, man. I'm gonna talk about the Georgia teams, because one Georgia team looks like it's for real, and one Georgia team looks like I think they for real, but we'll see the rest of the season. UGA is for real, and the reason why I say that is because last year or under Mark Richt, they would have lost the game at Tennessee. They're always gonna drop a game that they just should have won. Even last year, they lost a game, right? But for them to go to Tennessee and blow them out, now ranked top 5, I definitely think they're going to make a run in the playoffs this year. I like what they have. They have a 2-headed running back monster. They literally got 2 quarterbacks that either one of them can take them to the national championship. We know that the defense is solid, so I'm a believer. Another thing that stood out to me in terms of the NFL, I agree with B, like all of the injuries. I think David Carr will be all right, mainly because I was listening to sports radio today and they were talking about Mike Connolly had the same injury and he got back in 3 weeks. You know what I'm saying? So it's definitely an injury that you feel, but, you can come back from it. You'll be fine once you recover. So I'm not too worried about David Carr, but, Mariota's out. Who else is out? There's a rash of injuries, so I thought that was definitely impactful. But what about the Jets? They were supposed to be taking 2-2, right? Like so that's kind of crazy. We everybody kind of wrote them off, and I'm not saying that they're gonna make the playoffs or anything like that, but for them to be where they are, I'm pretty sure everybody thought they'd be 1-3 or 0-4 at this point.
And Cowherd thought they wouldn't win a game, so I'm happy they got 2.
Yeah, man. Another thing that stood out to me: what the hell is going on with Miami Dolphins offense? Like, can we even call that an offense? Like, Cutler. Is that even a professional offensive team? But it's not just Cutler, man. That play calling, the Wildcat. They you know what? At this point, they're just desperate. They desperate, man. And I think that the coach is probably going to get nixed. That's just me. I don't wish nobody to lose their source of income. But yeah, man. I don't know how you get that on the right track. I don't know how you fix that right now. So, we'll see.
Troy upsetting LSU. I didn't watch it, but when I saw the highlights and saw the score, I was like, wow. I mean, is SEC really that down of a year this year? But okay, that's all I want to say. That's all.
And to FIFO's point about Miami, who of course it's only been 4 weeks, but at 2-2, the Miami Dolphins have the same record as the New England Patriots. I'm sorry, the New York Jets. New York Jets have the same record as the New England Patriots. And as far as Miami, they've scored 6 points over the last 8 quarters. So there you go, man. That's terrible offense.
And you know what? Something else I forgot too. The Buffalo Bills defense is for real. They got a top 5 defense for real.
Yes.
It's legit. It's legit. You can hold the Falcons to 17. It's legit.
True indeed. What about you, Kent? What stood out to you this past weekend in college football and the NFL?
Well, in college, Clemson, man. Clemson, I know Virginia Tech was a 12th ranked team in the nation, but you can clearly see how special Deshaun Watson is when you watch their quarterback play.
Kelly Bryant.
Kelly Bryant, yeah. It's just not the same, man. It's just not the same. The way he throws, the way he runs, the way their offense looks, and I know, it's his first year, but sometimes when these guys, when quarterbacks that have it step on the field, you can just see it. And it was like that with Winston, and it was like that with Watson. And I just don't see it in Bryant. Now, that defense that Clemson have is flat out legit. They're going to be a problem for anybody that play. And, I think Bryant will gain experience as he goes along, but I just miss Watson, man. I miss watching him quarterback that offense. USC. I told y'all about Sam Darnold, and he's been playing with fire all year, and everybody's hailing him as the next great thing. And you go out and you lose to Washington State. And he gets credit for, deservingly so, like some of the comeback wins, some of the fourth quarter he's played. And that's what you want to see in a quarterback moving to the next level. Like, can you step up when your team needs you? But too often, his play is so erratic to begin the game, and they lose. And I watched part of that game, and for a while I was like, oh yeah, USC about to run away with it. And then I wake up and I look, and they lost. And I'm like, I've been trying to tell them. So, look, he's still an NFL prospect. He's still going to more than likely be drafted in the first round, probably the number one pick or so. But I'm not seeing it the way that you can normally see it with certain quarterbacks. But that doesn't mean he's not going to be successful at the next level. So that's it for college. The NFL, I'm not watching the NFL. So I'm spending more time with my family, with my son, and just spend time just being productive, doing other things like working and stuff like that. Man, I'm not watching. I did turn on the television. I was watching Orange is the New Black Sunday, instead of football. And when I was turning that off to come in here to do some work, I did saw a little bit of the game, of the Tampa Bay game going into halftime, but it was like 30 seconds. So, but the talk shows do a really, really good job of recapping like the big storylines from, the day. And I do, of course, check my teams. I do check the scores because I have fantasy football teams to check on. But yeah, man, I think I made a decision. Brandon Weeden got signed today over Kaepernick. More than likely, somebody else is going to get signed over Kaepernick in the future, man. And it may not change anything. The NFL will continue to move on. Kyle, you make that point very, very clear, and I understand that. But I think just for myself, I'm gonna do what I can and take a stand my way. But I will say this: shout out to Cam Newton, who beat Brady for blackness this weekend. I was very, very happy to see that. And Deshaun Watson, man, I just talked about him in Clemson, and to put up 57 in the NFL is freaking incredible. It doesn't happen often.
No, it
doesn't. We're talking about a guy that almost beat Brady. This guy, man, like I need somebody to sign Kaepernick because I really want to see this guy play.
Man, I tell you, it's well. First and foremost, man. I mean, I give you props, and I mentioned on previous podcasts, I give anybody props who's made the decision to not watch, and stick to that conviction. I just, the NFL is what it is.
It's hard, Kyle. It's hard.
Oh, I'm it's funny, Ken, because I think about it like we've watched football on Sundays in the fall all of our lives. So like, I couldn't even tell you what comes on TV on a Sunday because my Sundays are spent in front of the TV watching football. So I don't, I wouldn't even know. But yeah, you're right. They Brandon Weeden, got signed by the Titans today with Marcus Mariota having a hamstring injury. And you would think, a lot of times, the prognosticators would say, well, Kaepernick has to fit in a certain system. Well, what better system would it be than the Tennessee Titans? But, again, as I mentioned probably about a month ago, I think the NFL they'd rather bring back Mike Vick before they give Kaepernick a shot at, running the team. Let's see what stood out to me. I think, even though it's kind of premature to say this, but I'm gonna go out on a limb, and it's not really a really bad limb to stand on. I think we're looking at two teams that are on a collision course in college football, and that's Clemson and Alabama. I think we could be looking at, Golden State and the Cavs. We could be looking at a trilogy as far as the national championship game. These two teams, I saw a little bit of the Alabama game, saw them blow the doors off of their opponent. Clemson, like you said, went to Virginia Tech, smoked them. Even though Kelly Bryant, the quarterback, hasn't had a quote-unquote bad game, that defense is hell. And Alabama's defense is hell. And so I think we're on a collision course with those two teams. Now, of course, there's some other teams in college football that may have something to say about that. But right now, it looks like it's Clemson, Alabama. You can flip-flop one or two, whichever way you want to put it. And then I think it's everybody else. You mentioned it as well. What else did I have on here? Troy going to LSU. Troy got paid $1 million to come play LSU for their homecoming, and they walk away with the victory. People in Baton Rouge blame Les Miles. Les Miles isn't there anymore, and this team clearly isn't the same, and they have the talent. What's happening in Baton Rouge? I'm not sure, but Ed Orgeron might not be the answer. As far as the NFL, a couple of things stood out to me. First and foremost, my first observation about the NFL, please, if you're listening, NFL, stop sending teams to London. These games are awful. I mean, let's keep it a buck, man. These games, for the most part, that go to London, they aren't good. You don't send the best teams over there, and no, they're not going to, you're not going to have a Super Bowl rematch of the Falcons and the Patriots playing in London. You're going to save that game for either Atlanta or Foxborough, and it's going to be played in prime time. So the game this past Sunday was the Dolphins and the Saints. Saints smoked them 20-0. And I remember the guy saying, he said, "Man, the announcer said, this is a really awful first half," and it was. I mean, there was 16 penalties in the first half and 3 points. I mean, it's just bad football, man. And I don't know if it's the guys that jet lag. This is, being in a different type of space. I don't know what it is, but they really, I know they want to make the game global, but it's not happening, man. Adrian Peterson, I think his time in New Orleans is running out. He just doesn't look like a good fit. He had 4 touches for 4 yards this past weekend. And that's not to say that I don't think Adrian Peterson has it. He doesn't have any tread left on the tires, because I clearly do. I love Adrian Peterson. He's not a fit in that offense. I mean, if he's only going to touch the ball 4 times, I really don't know why you have him there. The Patriots, not looking too good on defense. This season, the Patriots have faced Alex Smith, Drew Brees, Deshaun Watson, and Cam Newton. And each of them have thrown for 300 yards against their defense. And the Patriots only gave up a 300-yard passer 3 times last year. I think FIFO mentioned it. Buffalo Bills, their defense, you gotta recognize. You gotta recognize this Buffalo Bills team, really, because right now they're sitting at 3-1, and they're coming off consecutive wins against the Broncos and the Falcons in back-to-back weeks. Another surprise team, LA Rams. It's hard to say LA Rams, but the LA Rams. I remember last year we clowned them about their offense, and right now they're leading the league, averaging 35.5 points a game. Another thing I have written down here, Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco threw he threw a fourth quarter interception against Pittsburgh, which extended his interception streak to 10 straight games with at least 1 pick, the longest active stretch in the NFL. He said after the game he sucked. Duh. Tell us something we don't know. And you guys know I've tried to defend Joe Flacco in this program here, man, much to the chagrin of Ken, but I can't, man. He's just not there. I don't know what it is. He's just, and I think the Ravens are another team that's at the very least are going to end up kicking themselves for not signing Kaepernick, because at the very least you could have had, somebody to pull Flacco for and, maybe, light up spark up under his ass. I don't know. And last but not least, last thing I have here, the Giants, as you guys mentioned, 0-4. Ben McAdoo is, he's the play caller. He probably should give up those play calling duties because it's not working. And, if the Giants keep on this track, I never thought for a minute that the Jets would be better than the Giants after 4 games. I did see that the Giants got Wayne Gallman from Clemson on Sunday, and he ran well. But 0-4, man, you can almost kiss the playoffs goodbye, and somebody might get fired. So my thing is, if you're the Giants, you want to try to make it a respectable season at 8-8, but things are going to have to turn around. They got to turn around pretty quick. So that's that. That's my take. Moving on to the next topic. Obviously, if you guys listened to last week's podcast and you saw what happened last week with the protests, this week was relatively quiet. After the uproar of last week, the anthem protests seemed to die down. Now, they didn't stop, but a couple of things happened. For one, Fox announced right before the game, that the games on Sunday, that they were no longer going to show the national anthem. And we also had a situation in Detroit where the owner, she actually offered to pay the players for their charities any amount of money if they would not take a knee. B, I'll start first with you, man. What's your thoughts about Fox not covering showing the national anthem anymore, and your hometown team, the Detroit Lions, man? The owner saying, "Hey, I will pay you guys your charity no matter what, how much ever you want, if you guys will, stop taking a knee because it's hurting business."
I mean, of course I look at it like she's an old, rich white woman. So, of course, this is not going to affect her. Yeah, she's going to try to cough up some money. Hey, boy, if I give you this, if you don't do this, boy. So, that's how I looked at it when I saw it. I'm like, her old ass come from money. So, this doesn't affect her at all. She don't affects business, whatever. I mean, players speaking out of injustice that's going on in the world. So obviously that, like I said, that doesn't affect her. So that's not shocking. Like, for her to say that and do that, that's not shocking at all, man. Which it goes to the point further to what Ken made, why he's not watching the NFL, because of stuff like that. You mad at players, you mad at Trump for saying son of a bitch, but you're not mad at the original reason why Colin Kaepernick was kneeling, which is the racism that's going on with police, the injustice that's going on with the police system and everything. It's like against, folks of color and brown and Hispanics and all that stuff. But you want to be mad about something else completely. I mean, this whole kneeling now is turned into the dab. Like, the dab was cool when we was doing it. So when white America got a hold of it, it was like, it's a wrap. So now it's like, that's the same thing. So for her acting like, oh, I'm going to pay y'all this much money to, be quiet, or for your charity, just don't protest the anthem. No, if that's their First Amendment right, if they want to do that, then let them do that. You shouldn't have to just throw them some money, or throw them dangling some money in their face to stop them from kneeling. That's some crap, man. And I hate that it's coming from. I mean, I ain't gonna say I hate, but of course it's some Detroit Lions owner. I'm like, damn. I'm saying, wow. People like, yo, B, what's up? I'm like, yeah. She an old white lady, man. This stuff don't affect her. It just doesn't affect her at all. So this is not surprising. It's coming from her at all.
So how did that? I'm curious, and I didn't ask you just offline, but how did that play back home? What was because to my knowledge, the Lions players did not take a knee prior to the anthem. I think they stood in unison and locked arms. But how did that play back home in the D?
Oh yeah, folks didn't like it. I mean. And it's I know some diehard Detroit Lions fans that's like, I'm not watching the Lions. Or since that incident, they're not watching no more Detroit Lions football the rest of the season, just because of that. So yeah, man, it's crazy. I think that's kind of hard to believe, especially like if the Lions start being like a 1 seed or a 2 seed in the NFC, and we got a chance to go to a Super Bowl or something like that. I think the climate of that will change a little bit, because I mean, we've been fiending for we've been fiending for a Super Bowl appearance or something, hell, since the Super Bowl era started. So, right now, regular season, I can see a lot of people turning their eye, but come playoffs, I can definitely see that kind of kicking up a small little notch. I think you might still have some guys that's like, no, I ain't watching it, F them, whatever, but it's going to be some people that's like, well, we are kind of winning now. And we might be in the Super Bowl for the first time ever in franchise history. Like, it's going to be some people that's going to still watch it. But, yeah, a lot of people in Detroit, they're not too fond of that right now.
True indeed. What about you, Ken? Your thoughts on the Lions situation as well as, Fox's decision not to show the national anthem?
It's not surprising about Fox. I think that speaks to who they are as a network, as an organization, with some of the hosts that they have on there, with some of the views and the way they lean. I would expect to see other networks taking a similar approach in the future. I was very, very, very disappointed, but not surprised. But what I saw about the Detroit Lions owner, she was clever because, on one hand you could say, hey, don't kneel. I'm going to give you money. I'm going to help the causes and the community, right? Which is kind of part of what we sort of want.
Right.
But you're kind of not doing it out of the kindness of your heart, like it took that to get you to action. And the other thing is, like, what policy is being rewritten. So you're helping communities, but you already should have been helping communities because you're in freaking Detroit. So anyway, so that was a little disingenuous. And I think B said it best. You're trying to pay the Negroes to stand. You're trying to buy their protest, and salute to the ones that didn't sell it, because there's a bigger goal to be had here. And Ta-Nehisi Coates, he wrote one, I think it was today, about the civil rights protests and about protests. And it basically, I could just read you the title and you'll understand it, but I encourage everybody to go read it. And it basically says civil rights protests have never been popular.
No.
So this isn't supposed to be polite and make people feel comfortable, and there is no right way to protest. Like, I see people talking about, I'm okay with people protesting, just do it the right way or find another way. What is the other way? Because the other way may make you happy, but it's going to upset somebody. And you will end up in a loop. So for me, man, I salute the Lions for not taking the bait and getting tricked into selling their protest, man, because I think that's very, very honorable, and it just shows to me what these white billionaires think of the players that's on their field, and it thinks that they can be bought.
What about you, FIFO? Your thoughts on it?
Man, it's always hard to go after Ken on the topic. Like, it is. But everything you said, man, I echo everything you said, man. Like, it just shows where these owners, where their mentality is. Listen, we call them owners. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy. It is.
Wow. Yeah.
It's kind. I don't want to call it modern day slavery, but it's kind of the model of slavery, right? Like, you have somebody that owns a whole bunch of people and they do their bidding, and if they fall out of line,
and they're referred to as property.
Exactly. You either punish them or you fine them. You take away something. So either way, like, the model is just it's kind of crazy, and I think that when you look at leadership in the NFL, ownership in the NFL, it's primarily white, while all of the players are primarily black. So it's just a crazy situation. And Ken, again, 1,000% right. How do you want me to protest? If I have the freedom to do whatever I like in this country, and you have an issue with it, then that means that we're talking about it, right? Like you can't appease everybody, and that's the thing. That's the crazy thing, seeing it being on one side of the fence, being on the side of the fence I'm on, and seeing how a lot of people on the other side react to this is kind of crazy. I never thought in 2017 that we would really be dealing with this, but I guess it's a good thing. It's a good thing that we have Trump out here to throw more gas on this fire, so that way we have this topic. That way it is uncomfortable. That way we continue to kneel. We continue to call out these entities such as Fox for not showing the national anthem. Like, are you serious? Like, what's even more disrespectful, not showing it, or somebody having a freedom to say or have a position that they want? Like, come on, man. Like, that's crazy as hell. That's crazy.
Yeah, great points made by everybody. I think one of the things that really, like Ken said, I'm not really surprised. I guess the thing with Fox was I'm really surprised that they didn't think of this earlier. And I think I said it on this podcast, or maybe I was talking to someone, but like growing up, we never saw the national anthem on TV. And to be honest, prior to the Kaepernick, situation last year, other than, right after 9/11, I really don't remember seeing the national anthem being televised. So it was like it became this thing where where they're showing it. And I, trust me, I get and I understand why they showed it after 9/11. And the subsequent year after that, I understood that too. But then for me, it seemed like it died down after that. And it's not to say that we didn't see it. I just don't recall seeing it after that. But over these last few years, or the last 2 years or so, they've shown it a lot more. But I thought, like, even when I may have referenced it last year, if you really kind of wanted to get rid of the idea, then just don't show the national anthem, because but the thing about it was that the NFL thought, okay, hey, this is ratings. We can show this. And, and then there were reports of who was standing, who was kneeling, and who had a bald fist. And that seems to be the case each time. So Fox doing this, I don't necessarily have a problem with it, but, I'm just really, the reason why they're doing it now is crazy to me. It's just, I think if they had done it last year without any type of fanfare, or without any type of notice, I would have been cool. But, on the heels of, what your man said, a couple of weeks ago, it looks like a punk move to say, okay, now we're not going to show it. Not that I care, but, because there's still going to be reports. There's still going to be tweets. There's still going to be pictures of who's standing, who's kneeling, who's sitting down, who's digging up their nose, the whole nine. So as for the owner of the Lions, I wasn't really surprised. I think, like B said, she doesn't have anything to lose, and she clearly is someone who doesn't understand and is out of touch with her players, because she felt like, hey, okay, if I tell them I can, I will invest in their charities, they won't take a knee. But it's not about taking a knee. It's about, and for the players of the teams, like the Lions, who were presented this proposal, if you will, it's about what happens when an unarmed citizen, person of color, gets killed by someone who is hired to protect them, and then they walk scot-free. That's what it's about. It's not about, her giving $100,000 or $1 million to charities. I mean, what does that do? That's not going to help them, because in essence, that could be a Lions player 5 years from now. That could be a Lions. That could be the cousins of, that could be the Detroit Lions starting running back, Abdullah. I can't remember his first name, but that could be his cousin tomorrow. And I don't think that you make that kind of deal with the devil. But, like Ken said, and Ken makes a good point. I kind of agree. That's kind of what we wanted, because that's, what Kaepernick is doing. He's investing. He's putting his money where his mouth is. But, as far as police reform and some of these other social injustices that we want to see, and that he was trying to see when he initially took this stance, all of that stuff has been lost and glossed over. And they've, like Q said last week, they've gentrified it, so now it's like, okay, I was very interested to see what what the plan was going to be this week, this past week, and they basically shut it down. Again, the protests are still happening, but if you're not televising it, if you've got owners on the field, if you, like B said, it's like the dab now. Everybody's doing it, so everybody's taking a knee. So at some point in time, players, if you're going to protest, I think you might have to find some other way of doing it, because this way right here started to look to be kind of played out. In other news, in case you missed it, a couple of news bits before we move to the next topic. O.J. Simpson is out of jail. He got out this past week, so Juice is on the loose. He's on the streets. The Bears will start Mitchell Trubisky and sit Mike Glennon. The Mike Glennon experiment is over. Rookie first-round draft pick Mitchell Trubisky will start this week for the Bears. Speaking of the Bears, their linebacker Danny Trevathan had a helmet-to-helmet hit on Green Bay Packers wide receiver Devontae Adams. He was flagged for hitting a defenseless receiver. I don't think he was thrown. He was not thrown out of the game. The NFL initially suspended him for 2 games and reduced the suspension to 1 game. So I think they're trying to send a message across the league. And as I mentioned at the top, man, we got the Major League Baseball playoffs coming up. At the time of this recording, the New York Yankees and the Minnesota Twins are battling it out in the wild card game. On Wednesday of this week, the wild card game in the National League will be the Colorado Rockies versus the Arizona Arizona Diamondbacks. And on Thursday, Boston will go up against Houston. And then on Friday kicks off the defending champion Chicago Cubs against the Washington Nationals. Anybody want to weigh in on some baseball before we move on to the next topic?
The Indians, with their pitching rotation, have a really, really good shot, and they have a nice offense too. So they can put runs on the board and they can make it stick. We know about the Dodgers. I think we jinxed them.
We might have.
Man, we may have, man.
They fell off.
Yeah, they did hard. But I think a lot of teams really, really got a shot at it. I think the Dodgers got a shot at it. If they seem to have found their way, and the Cubs are the defending champs. So I'm really interested to see what they do. So by this time next week, we'll have a good idea of how all of this will have played out. But yeah, I'm curious, man. But if you're a baseball fan, you got the Yankees, you got the Indians, you got the Red Sox in it, you got the Dodgers in it, you got the Cubs in it. So it's like these are high profile baseball organizations. So baseball should be loving this.
Oh, I agree. I think anytime you can get these type of teams, like you said, some of the marquee franchises in Major League Baseball, in the Major League Baseball playoffs, I think it bodes well. Obviously, the winner of these wild card games, the winner of the game between the Twins and the Yankees will move on and play the Indians. And then the winner in the National League will play the Dodgers. As Ken mentioned, we talked about the Dodgers when it looked like they were gonna Golden State Warrior take off and just run off like the Warriors did. Probably about a month and a half, 2 months ago, we talked about them on this podcast, and then the Dodgers just kind of stumbled across the finish line. So we'll see what happens, man. I think it's going to be definitely a good playoff. I am biased because I'm a Yankees fan. So even as we're recording, I am watching this game very intensely. But I think one of the great things about Major League Baseball and the playoffs in particular is that every pitch counts, every game counts. It's not like you're playing against, the Marlins on a Tuesday night in January or something like that. This is for real. And so everything counts. And I think, even something as simple as, getting on base and stealing bases and having timely hits and bats going cold. We've seen that in the playoffs as well. So we will have more and more Major League Baseball talk as the playoffs heat up as well. And obviously this is a great time for us because we actually get a chance to hit all 3 major sports as well. One other note before we move on to the next topic. LaVar Ball has decided to remove his son LaMelo from high school. LaMelo is being withdrawn from Chino Hills High School From the outside looking in, it looks like LaVar is having problems or has had problems with the coaches at Chino Hills. So LaMelo with the Lambo will be being homeschooled. As you all know, I think he's a high school junior. So he's going to miss his junior and senior year of high school basketball. Real quick, man, is that smart? FIFO, is that smart for him? How will that affect him as far as like, I know he'll play AAU ball, but I mean, like, he's gonna miss 2 seasons of high school ball. Is that smart on LaVar's part?
Honestly, I don't think it's smart. But here's the thing: who am I to challenge LaVar Ball? The man is 1 for 1 right now, right? So look, he's doing more than what I'm doing. So I'm not gonna question him. But I know if it was me and my son, I don't know if I would do that. Mainly because it's not bad training him, and obviously I trust LaVar because he's groomed all 3 of these guys, and he has one in the NBA now, one at a major D1, and LaMelo does have UCLA commitment as well. So he already has the commitment. I think the question is, will he even be NCAA eligible? Right, because of the whole big baller brand and all of that. So I'm not worried about him getting to college. I'm not even worried about him excelling in college. I just know as a basketball player, you need to play competitive basketball year round for you to be able to sharpen your skills. And just working out for 2 years, I don't know if he'll be able to do that. But at the same time, LaVar is kind of ahead of the curve. You never know. He might send LaMelo overseas for 2 years. You know what I'm saying? Gets a professional, or 3 years, I guess, because he has to be 1 year removed to enter the NBA. And I don't know. But technically, wait, hold on. Now that I think about it, the rule is to be removed 1 year from high school, right?
Yeah, from your graduating class.
In age.
It's 1 year removed from your graduating class.
Okay, because I was gonna say maybe he's just gonna pull him out and then boom, sneak him into the league. But
I would think that he's still gonna play AAU ball. I would assume
that's
that
only
helps.
In the summer.
Okay,
that's only in the summer.
Good point.
And I think that like a lot of these young kids, the reason why their talent level is so high is because they're literally playing year round. You get AAU in the summer. Obviously, you get high school basketball in the fall, and then in between the time, that's when you work out. AAU is where you go and hone in everything that you've added to your game, in between the regular season and, going into AAU. So I think he'll lose a little something. Again, I think playing competitively at a high level is extremely important because the one thing that you can't work on is experience. And you got to be put through situations so that way you can draw on that experience in the future. So I think that's the only thing that'll hinder him. But I wouldn't do it. We're going to let LaVar speak whatever it is into existence on this one. We'll see what happens.
No doubt. What about you, B? How do you think this thing is going to play out, man, with LaVar pulling LaMelo out of high school?
Hey, man, I've been so 50-50 with LaVar, man. It's like one half I'm like, yes, I like it. Till you don't have to follow the whole plan. You doing whatever you want to do as a man of your family. But then it's like, man, it's the same dude that pulled his team off of a court because he didn't like the ref. It's just that immature. It's like you showing young guys when things go rough, just pack up and go and just run, tuck your tail in and then run. And just because you had a falling out with the Chino Hills coach or whatever, because you don't want your son to jack up 53 pointers a game and cherry pick and not play defense, then just. I don't know, man. Just like I don't like that, man. I'm kind of you pull up for something. Yeah, I just didn't like that at all. I'm like, man, that's some punk shit right there. I'm sorry, that's some punk shit for him to do that. So that's why I'm like 50-50 because that one, like I said, I'm like you're black, so that's great, doing whatever you want to do with your family. But I don't like this, man. I don't like this move just because you upset at the coach. And you trying to act like you run things over there, man. And that's the coach for that school. You're not the head coach, LaVar Ball. Like, you're not the head coach. So whatever the head coach do, you could probably talk to the head coach and try to work with him. I mean, I've seen that plenty of times through, even when I was playing with other fathers and people coming in and having their little 2 cents or whatever, that's fine and dandy. But dude, you're not the coach. Like, I don't understand that, man. Like that's crazy. But he has. I'm pretty sure he has the sources and the money to still give his son a good homeschool education, I guess. I mean, I don't think any typical family can just pull and just do that. So I'm pretty sure LaVar Ball got the sources to do that. But yeah, I don't like it, man. It's just, Jesus. I'm just like, and then I saw an article USA Today posted where they say LaVar
they said he was the worst
worst parent, and I'm like, okay, that's going a little,
that's going too far.
I may not like what he's doing as far as him with his son and the high school situation, but I mean, damn, see, and that's why I'm 50-50, because 50 of me, I'm rooting for him. Like, go ahead, brother, yeah, fist in the air, like, do it. Don't follow the usual mode that everybody wants you to follow. You know what I'm saying? Set a trend. Maybe he might be starting something that other black fathers or black families can start doing. But the other side is like, oh man, really? You just gonna tuck your tail in? He's that guy that, like, if he got to go home, he gonna take his ball and go home.
Take his ball.
I'm taking my ball and going home since stuff ain't going my way. Like, I don't like that, man. I don't like that. And he an older dude, so it's like you would think he had that old school type of mentality where it's like, no, I'm a man up and do this, but it's like, man, really? This is what you showing the young your sons when things get tough, just tuck your tail in and run. So I just don't like that. I don't like that part of the whole situation, man. It's like, and then like I said, it was just adding on fuel, because then I started thinking about the AAU thing when that was public. That was on social media. Him, come on, let's go in the middle of a freaking game,
middle of a game.
You just gonna tell you guys, come on, get up and go. I don't like the ref. He's making bad calls. Like, guess what? That's life. Things gonna get tough. It ain't gonna go the way you want it to go. So, yeah, man, that ticked me off.
Ken, what about you, man? You're a father. You pulling your kid out of high school. He's not gonna have the day-to-day, hanging in the hallway with his buddies and talking to girls and going to prom and trying to get some under the bleachers. I mean, what do you think about this, man?
Well, Kyle, as a father yourself, and even before I became a father, there's a saying, there's a code, there's an unwritten rule. You don't tell anybody how to raise their kids.
This is true. This is true.
You know what I mean? So
this is true.
Hey, man, if that's what, and I'm listening to a lot of people weigh in on this, that's not y'all business. I'm telling y'all now, stay out of it. Now, I know he's a public figure, and as a public figure, this comes with it. And so I understand that. But some people are just going, a little too far. I'll say this. I think if I was him, I probably would do the same. He's going all in, man, and he's going for it. And they are in a position where they don't really need the school system. Like all of the stuff you mentioned, Kyle, yeah, he won't have that. Like those memories and stuff like that. But he forego that a long time ago. Like, it's all about basketball. He's committed. And in order to be successful, sometimes you have to go all in. You have to commit 100%. LaMelo, from what Raph has said and others have said, has the toughest and hardest shot of making it to the league. And if Lonzo turns out to be a bust, he ain't ever going to make it to the league. So I think that at this moment in time, it makes sense to try to, go ahead and make as much as you can off of it, because he's not a normal kid anymore. He's a star. The girls, they'll come, but he won't have.
He's got a Lambo. I don't think the girl's going to be too far away.
Yeah, but Kyle, there's something about the thrill of the hunt, the chase. You know what I mean? That's what makes it fun. Yeah, it's cool to have women throwing themselves at you, but there's something innate about that we have about chasing down a woman and trying to get the one that
all right, Mac.
Okay, yeah, so you got it. So look, but I'll close out by saying this. I believe in homeschooling, and I don't see anything wrong with homeschooling. If people do, they probably don't really understand that homeschooling is better than public schooling. The educational school system is shit. Sorry for cursing. But I've been dealing with this, and even before I became a parent, I just knew about it, and I saw what was going on, especially when it comes to the schooling for black kids, black public systems. There was something I sent B either yesterday or the day before, written by Thomas P. Bailey, and it's called The Race Orthodoxy.
Yes, that was yesterday. Yes.
Yeah, and in it, it said that we won't have equal education. Like, they'll have all of the high-end education, and we'll get education where we think we're educated, but we're not. It's limited. It's capped. And this was in 1914. I can send it to everybody. Look it up. It's on Google Books.
And it's crazy.
Archived. Yeah, it's nuts. It's nuts.
It's so deep, dude. Damn, that shit's so deep.
Yeah.
So send it to me.
Yeah, LaMelo is fortunate because he's in a position of privilege, and he has class privilege. But every kid that's out there in the public school system that don't have that are victims to the shitty public school system that we have. So if you can homeschool your kid or send them to a private school of some sort, I encourage you to do it. I'm doing it. It's not easy. It's hard. It's expensive, but it's worth it, man. And I think Yankees.
I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. I'm wrapping up. Yeah. Cool.
I forgot I was on the mic.
Yeah, it's all good, man. You know what? I was starting to preach, so I needed to wrap that up. I'll save this conversation for Is the Mic Still On, because I have so much to say about it. But yeah, go ahead, LaVar.
I forgot my mic was on. Aaron Judge. For those of you listening, I'm watching the game as we record this podcast, and Aaron Judge just hit a home run. Ken and B and FIFO actually make great points, and Ken is right. The first thing that he said, I agree 110%. You can't tell people how to raise their child. B referenced the article in USA Today. I read that as well. The headline just jumped at me, that LaVar Ball was the worst parent ever. I don't agree with this move just because, and I agree with Ken 1,000%. No, the education system in this country is not what it needs to be. I mean, and I tell my kids all the time, like, you guys go to schools way better than the schools that I went to. And I learned a lot, but I also let them know that my education process didn't stop just at school. And so even as a parent, my education, the education that they learn doesn't stop just at them going to school, because if they don't learn something here, then I'm failing as a parent. I said that to say this. If I'm LaMelo, I feel for LaMelo missing out on those moments of just being in high school. And the four of us went to high school, and we all had different experiences, but we all had similar experiences that we can all share. And that goes for everybody listening. Everybody that listens to this podcast would at the very least have gone to high school. I hate that he's going to miss that. But I guess, I might, and FIFO just said something that made me think about it. I might feel a little bit better had this been Lonzo, because I think Lonzo is the guy that we knew or know that he's going to make it. LaMelo, I'm not really sure. So I think when FIFO said playing ball, you need to play ball year round, that stuck with me because, if he's not playing, if he's not playing high school ball, if he's just playing AAU, he's only playing during the summer. And somebody like him who may not be as good as his older brother, he might need that year-round competition. So we'll see, man. I don't, LaVar's done a lot of things that I've questioned. I question this, but it's his kid. It ain't mine, so.
Hey, Kyle, let me ask you, have you watched any of the reality TV series?
I had, man, I started to. and I got busy, and I said I was going to catch up with it. I just haven't. How is it good or bad? Because I'm not really big on reality shows.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's real reality. It's not fake reality.
Okay.
But in the show, you can tell that LaMelo is kind of the wild child.
Okay.
Out the bunch, because you see Lonzo's demeanor. He's real quiet, laid back. Jello is the same way, but Melo isn't. And
he's like his dad.
He's a lot like his dad. Maybe a little different. I don't think he's as outspoken. I think he definitely is quiet like his brothers. He's definitely more quiet than LaVar, but he's the wild one. And I think that this can be a good move or it could be a bad move. It's like a boom or bust move. Mainly because I think if LaVar can hone in, you know what I'm saying? And obviously this is basketball, right? Like you talked about having those experiences. Man, this guy is beyond high school experiences. He has a Lambo, like you said. He has his own signature shoe. He is beyond the regular high school experience. I think that if LaMelo understands that his trajectory, right, and the goal is the NBA, then you got to forego some of those things that everybody else goes through. And I think this is just one of those things. And obviously, going back to what Ken said, don't nobody know your kids better than you.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
You know what I'm saying? So if he's the wild one, then I think LaVar's pulling him out for a certain reason. And, to a point that one of you guys made too, like, obviously there's no head basketball coach that is going to allow one player to jack up 23s a game.
No.
A game. I'm talking about not one game. I'm talking about per game. Right? Like, that's just not going to happen. That nobody is going to be cool with that. You know what I'm saying? So LaVar can have all of his issues as he wants it. He can control the high school. When it goes to major D1 in the NBA, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? So, look, I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with LaMelo. Because, again, we're talking 2 years of not playing high school ball. And then your eligibility at the NCAA level can be in question. So we're talking about 3 years without seeing you play at a high level. That is going to be a tough sell to get LaMelo as a top 5 pick. I don't see how, if we cannot see film, if we cannot see progression, how is LaMelo going to retain that level of draft stock? I don't see how that's going to happen.
True indeed. We'll see, man. Like you said, this is, people have questioned a lot of his moves. I see even more people. I even saw somebody reference Todd Marinovich, the former quarterback in the NFL with the Raiders. So I don't know that it's necessarily that bad. We'll see. But, again, this is kids. So, who are we to tell LaVar Ball what to do? Speaking of basketball, we're about to tip off with the NBA in a few weeks. And not only in the NBA, but college basketball as well. And as many of you know, Rick Pitino from Louisville was placed on administrative leave, which means that they're eventually going to fire him. Allegedly, his program, as well as several other programs, are involved with these money schemes. Louisville is to have alleged giving a kid $100,000 to come to school there. Now there were 4 assistant coaches from different schools that were arrested. One being Chuck Person at Auburn. And basically what we've been told, or what we know, the little bit of what we know, that this isn't even an NCAA thing. This is the FBI. The feds are involved. So not only are these schools involved, but the feds are involved with this case. Sneaker companies are involved. I know Louisville's AD, he was also put on administrative leave, and I think his daughter and Louisville has a contract with Adidas. His daughter has a job with Adidas. She's like a brand manager or something like that at Adidas. So there's a lot of dominoes that are falling. What we know is only the tip of the iceberg. But the one thing that we do know, Rick Pitino has been, like I said, put on administrative leave. What they're trying to figure out now between Louisville and Rick Pitino is his contract. I think he has like $40-something million left on the contract. But if they can figure out that he did something to, if he basically breached his contract, then they don't have to pay him a dime. So that's what Louisville's trying to figure out right now. With that being said, B, how bad do you think this could, because a lot of dominoes are going to fall here. How bad do you think this is going to be for college hoops?
Oh, it's going to be bad, man, because when I saw the feds was involved, I said, ooh, people about to start snitching. That's one, seriously.
Exactly.
That's one thing. Huh?
No, I said exactly.
Yeah, I would say, because that's one thing that people do not want to do is fed time. Because if you do fed time, you got to do all that time. So soon the feds get in this, I'm like, man, we about to start seeing some stuff come out of this, man. This is bad, man. Like it hypens everything up once the feds get involved. It's not just NCAA getting involved, the feds. So yeah, immediately I'm like, oh yeah, this is people about to start snitching. People gonna start getting scared. And this type of thing has probably been happening for decades and decades and decades, man. Like this is nothing new. Georgetown and Villanova. I'm pretty sure a lot of these schools, they just been doing a great job of keeping things under wraps. Even in college football, like I think just college sports in general. I mean, especially with basketball and football being two very high profile sports. Yeah, this type of stuff has been going on. I think it definitely, have other big universities like Kansas and Kentucky's and all them shaking in their bones. Because I've always wondered, like, once Calipari or whatever, once his run is all said and done, and we look years later, Calipari did some shady stuff. Like, I wonder, are we gonna look back and find out, Calipari did some shady stuff? The same way with Steve Fisher with the whole Fab Five situation. Like, that didn't come out to, decades later. But right. Is we gonna get the same thing with Calipari? Like, I keep wondering that. Like, I'm like, man, I wonder, 15, 16 years down from here when Calipari's done coaching, are we gonna find some stuff he was doing? Because the players he's been getting over the last decade, man, it's like, damn, Calipari been getting them. So, I think now a lot of these other universities now they definitely gonna tighten up ship, either tighten up ship or something, because folks, either you're not paying the right folks to keep their mouth shut or something, man. Because whenever that Fed get involved, man, things get scary, and that's the first thing I thought of was snitching. Someone about to start telling. They about to start telling, baby. So. Yeah, man. I just think a lot of these colleges, like I said, even not only just basketball, I even think just football too. Everybody gonna start tightening up now, because if this goes through, Louisville will get the death penalty. They will get the death penalty for sure. Yeah. And Rick Pitino can kiss his job goodbye. I think he's on an
unpaid administrative leave.
Yeah,
so
see?
And like I said, Louisville, they're trying to figure out how they don't have to pay him.
Yeah, this is serious. So yeah, this is about to go down, and it's gonna be surprising how, I guess, from here on out, once we find out how this situation, falls out or whatever, what university is gonna do from here on out. You know what I'm saying? As far as trying to get these big recruits, trying to lure them in, because you gotta think about it. It's really easy for these recruits, some of these schools, to dangle some money or dangle a particular lifestyle to some. A number 2, number 3 ranked player in the country that's probably coming from a low poverty income. He wanna get his mom out of something, and then all it takes is just a university come flash some stuff and do some stuff, and ain't no telling what other illegal stuff they're doing, to try to lure these kids. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, this is gonna be interesting, man. This is definitely an eye opener going into the end. We about a month and a half away from college basketball starting, so this is going to be really interesting, man. I'm really keep my eye close on this, how this is going to play out.
What about you, FIFO? I mean, they mentioned sneaker companies. We know, and it's not been a secret. A lot of times, kids, like let's say a kid goes to Nike camp, he ends up going to a Nike school. When he leaves school, he normally ends up signing with Nike. So, some of the sneaker companies are allegedly involved. Again, we don't know as much because the feds really haven't released a whole bunch of information. But what we do know, is pretty damning. How bad can this get for college basketball?
Here's the thing. This isn't new. This ain't new. Mm-hmm. Giving kids sneakers, kind of swaying them to go here, go there, talk to this person, talk to that person. this is not anything new. And I feel like this is like Trump. Let this come out so that way we can change how things get done, right? Because the NCAA needs to change this whole amateurism thing because it's just way too much money involved off the backs of these students, and they're not getting any piece of that pie, and that is simply not right. Look, as an adult, right? Once you reach the age of 18, which is your freshman or your freshman year of college, 18, 19 years old, right? You should have the freedom in America to make money off of your name and likeness, and still play college athletics. What is the problem here? If this guy says, yo, I'm going to give you X amount of dollars, or I'm going to give you some free sneakers to go over here, what's the problem with that? Like, let's be honest. This is 2017 now, right? Let's break down some of these old, super old traditions, because they just no longer. So you mean to tell me if this dude give me a couple sneakers, right, and I go hoop at this school, then I get in trouble? But I can literally create an app and make money and still go and play. Like, what's the difference? What, like, I don't get why.
Or better yet, somebody come to you and say, FIFA, we'll give you $100K if your kid comes to our school.
Okay. I take the money, but I can't guarantee he gonna make his own decision. You know what I'm saying? But shit, we more than likely will. You know, look, at the end of the day, I don't see what's the overarching problem with student athletes being monetized for their services. And don't give me the scholarship. Come on. Look, especially these one and done guys. What? Come on. Let's change the system, because the system is too antiquated. Things are moving in real time now, and over here, NCAA is still like trying to be the damn New York Times. Hey man, you need to get you an app. You need to upgrade your services. That's what needs to happen. I think that we are going to see a lot of stuff, but are we gonna be surprised? Is it surprising? Like if we're gonna be reading these headlines, oh, this coach did this and this sneaker company did that, and are they not brands and entities that need to get the best marketing and visualization? So do I not want the best athletes wearing and perusing my stuff? Of course. Where's the problem with that? I don't see any problem, man. I just think that the system needs to change. I honestly do. And I think that if the system changes, we could play a little bit more fair if it's transparent, if it's clear. You know what I'm saying? And that's just how I feel about it. To me, I really feel like this is being overblown, overstated. The feds are involved. Nobody really wants to do Fed time. I get it. But at the end of the day, man, we got to change this system, because this system don't make no sense.
True indeed. True indeed. Ken, what about you, man? How bad can this get for college basketball?
Yeah, it's pretty ugly now. A lot of, like, I think I saw, what's the coach for Arizona?
Is that Miller? Is Miller?
Archie Miller? Sean Miller?
Or is it Sean Miller? Archie? I can't remember. I get him confused.
Yeah, he said he was hurt.
It might be Sean.
By the news, but I really agree with Ralph, man. I think that's the bigger story here, or it should be the story. This system was set up back almost 100 years ago or so, and it's old. It's outdated. Times have changed. This is a billion-dollar industry off of free labor. You give them a scholarship. You get some of them that. There are others that don't have it. A dream. So you're taking advantage of kids that are trying to make it to the next level, maybe. But it's like, what, 1,600 people in the NFL? Yeah, it's going to be hard. So while I was in opposition of paying college athletes when we first started this show, people change, people's opinions change. I've researched it more, and I'm way more informed than I was back then, and my position on this has changed. They need to be compensated for what they're doing. These guys are getting hit in the head, breaking legs, tearing ACLs, and what do they get? Nothing. They can lose their scholarship. Can't play. We don't need you. So, and that was football and basketball. So I think for me, man, I think we need to look at the system in college athletics, and it needs to be revised. And until it is, this is going to keep happening. It hasn't stopped, and it won't ever stop.
All right, Puffy.
Hey, man, I don't have much to add. I think the only thing I could add is I think what was surprising to me was that, and just reading some of the documents, you know, in Pitino's case, and much like, you know, the other coaches, they were more concerned about the NCAA finding out. I mean, like, they never thought that the feds would be involved. And so when the feds come knocking, you know, that's when the game really flipped, because now it's, you know, because to be honest, the NCAA probably wouldn't even, these schools and these sneaker companies are so covert that they probably wouldn't have ever found anything out like this. You know, I think in a case like Pitino, I was surprised that they got Pitino and not Calipari, like you mentioned, because Coach Cal looks to me like the guy who would really just, you know, be that guy. I mean, like, you can't tell me all those dudes are going to Kentucky just because they love Kentucky. I mean, somebody got to get broke off somewhere down the line, somehow, some way. But that's just me. But even in saying that, I agree. I mean, I can't blame somebody for taking $100,000. I just can't, you know, especially not being in that situation. You just never know, you know, and I don't know the kid's background. I don't know where he came from. I don't know. And trust me, even in him getting $100,000, they still made more than that off of him, because if they had $100,000 to give, then trust me, they wasn't missing it. But it's going to be interesting, man. The fallout really could be, you know, damaging for college hoops. And like FIFO said, maybe it does change the game, and maybe it does change the system, because the system is definitely broken. Moving on to the NBA. The NBA is back in the news. Preseason has already started. Season will tip off in just a few weeks, but you know, the NBA introduced some new legislature. Teams will now be fined for resting players. Also in 2019, they have a new rule that will prevent teams from tanking. So all the teams that's going to be sorry this upcoming year, including my Atlanta Hawks, feel free to tank at your heart's desire. I'm not looking forward to seeing my Hawks this year, because I know we're going to be terrible, but that's another day. That's another story for another day. So we got that, and then I want to talk about the All-Star game and how the teams will be selected. But first, let's talk about this. FIFO, right there, man. What do you think about this finding teams for resting players and this new rule to prevent teams from tanking?
Hey, I'm gonna just say this. I'm gonna start off like this. Adam Silver is the best commissioner in sports. I'm gonna put it out there. I think this is amazing. And here's the thing. I don't know all of the stipulations. I'm pretty sure that if you rest a guy, obviously if he's hurt or, you know, coming off an injury an extra day or so, or back-to-backs for an older player, something like that, I'm pretty sure that you won't get fined. But even if you do, and a coach or an organization is willing to take that, by all means. But I think the fact that they were able to make changes is telling. And every time Adam Silver says, "Hey, this needs to be done better," he makes the change. There's no back and forth. It kind of just happens, and I like this move because the fans pay a lot of money for these basketball tickets, and if I'm expecting to see somebody that is healthy, I need to see that person that's healthy. You know what I'm saying? We don't need to be sitting healthy players at all. So I'm with that. I'm glad he made that rule change, because me as a paying customer, I need to see. Look, first of all, they make too much damn money. That's number one. So you better be out here playing some damn basketball. I don't care what the hell wrong with you. You need to be out here playing that damn basketball. So I'm cool with that. I'm definitely 1,000% for it.
No doubt, no doubt. Ken, what about you, man? Finding players for resting and tanking. What's your take on that?
Man, I agree completely with Ralph, man. I loved it. What I loved about this move is not what they did, but the fact that they did something. And they basically said, we're not going to stand for this. We're going to change the rules to – now, there were some concessions made. They made a better schedule. They reduced the number of back-to-backs. So there was some give and take here. They gave to the players. But because of that, they said, now we've made things easier. We've heard your issues. We've listened to your demands. Here you go. You have no excuse anymore. And if you sit, you will be fined because you can't have it both ways. So I loved it. And I love that they took actions on both ends, and it seemed like it was fair, and it wasn't a dictatorship the way the NFL seems to do. So back to what Ralph said, Silver's the man. Silver's the man, and he addressed all the issues and complaints that fans had. And he understands that he has to protect his business. But he did it in a way that benefits both parties.
It is. What about you, B? Your take on this?
Yep, completely agree with Ken. He actually said my point. Like, they did a great job of coming, like, kind of making both sides agreeable. Like you said about making less back-to-back games. Look, we're doing all this for the schedule, so now either it's time for y'all to put up or shut up. You know what I'm saying? Even before all this took place, I was always in agreement with Stephen A. when he said, if players going to rest at home, because that home crowd got, 41 times to see him. It's when you're on that road and you want to decide to rest. Like if LeBron was coming to Atlanta, people want to see LeBron. And LeBron want to act like he want to, like that. That's where it gets like a no-no.
FIFA damn sure don't want to see the Hawks.
You're right. You know what I mean? So, yeah. So I'm glad that the NBA. This is why the NBA is just killing NFL, man. Like, it's just everything, man. They doing everything right. They just getting everything right, man. And David Stern, I thought he was a great commissioner, and he knew what he was doing. He gave the keys right to Adam Silver because he knew that Adam Silver was forward thinking. And about pretty much like the new millennial commissioner, man. Like Adam Silver, he's living up to that bill, and he's gonna be considered one of the great commissioners in the years to come, just like people said, man. So yeah, kudos to the NBA. I'm glad there's some give and take being done here, man. It just makes me even more excited for the NBA season to start.
I agree. I echo the sentiments of you guys. I think what this shows me about Adam Silver and the NBA is that they are consistently trying to stay ahead of the curve, and they understand the popularity of the game. They understand how the ratings work, and there's going to be a big you can't have a Thursday night game, because we know the Thursday night games are on TNT are normally, if I'm not mistaken, on the schedule, and most NBA nights or most NBA Thursday nights, there's usually just 2 games on, and those games are on TNT. So you've got a nationally televised audience. You can't afford to have your superstars sitting for a nationally televised game or Sunday afternoon game that's on ABC, ESPN. And they get it. And they're just trying to stay ahead of the curve, wherein I think the NBA is more progressive. The NFL is more reactionary. And the NFL is constantly changing stuff, trying to figure it out, where it looks like Adam Silver is not only ahead of the curve, but they're shaping and molding how things are supposed to be in sports. So kudos to them. I agree with that. And the idea of tanking, that gives teams an alternative. You're not going to have any more of a competitive advantage by losing all of these games. You're going to get the same number of ping pong balls, and wherever it falls, it falls. And if you're lucky enough to get the number 1 pick, cool. If not, then that's cool too. So, big props to them.
Hey, Kyle, before you move forward, let me ask you guys. Mm-hmm. How do you feel about Stan Van Gundy saying that there shouldn't be an NBA draft? Rookies should just sign as free agents. So if you want to pay a rookie $50 million, you pay him $50 million. And there shouldn't be a max contract. Again, if you want to pay one player, half of your salary cap, you can do that if you like.
Remember when I asked you guys about that a while ago? I asked it was something about the draft and how do we get the draft and why do we even have it? I'm all for this type of reform. It seems outdated to me, and I like the idea of there being like a free market for players. Whoever has the most money, to pay up, get your services.
But you know what, Ken, the only thing, one of the things that I didn't like about that, and the NFL was guilty of this just probably 10, 15 years ago, where they were giving these kids coming out of college, like quarterbacks and stuff, these huge contracts, and they hadn't proven anything. And I think what happens is in the NBA, I think what end up happening is you'd have the same thing where you're paying these players more or less on their potential. As far as rookies, you're paying them on their potential and not necessarily what they can and will accomplish. I don't think that if, Lonzo Ball is the number one pick, I don't think Lonzo should be making more than John Wall. John Wall has paid his dues and earned the right to get the contract that he has.
But at the same time, though, Kyle, John Wall, if there's no max deal, John Wall could have signed his previous contract to an astronomical figure.
Mm-hmm.
So remember we used to have no rookie wage scale.
Right.
And Glenn Robinson was the last one. I think he signed like 40-some million over 3 years or something like that. He was the last rookie to really get paid. To me, that's not that of an egregious contract when you look at some of these contracts like Mozgov. You mean to tell me I would pay Lonzo Ball right now just based off of how many tickets he's going to sell, what Mozgov is getting right now?
Okay, but I guess my question to that is, are you concerned at all, if at all, about whether or not Lonzo, you give him that money, he's going to develop into being the player that you want? Like, there's no incentive. You know what I'm saying? Monetarily, if you will.
Of course, monetarily, but I think, again, we just live in a different age, right? Like when I was growing up, I didn't have YouTube to show me some new basketball drills or to show me my competition around the states, right? Mm-hmm. Like I worked on what I worked on, but I didn't kind of know how hard I needed to go. These kids, they know how hard they need to go. They play basketball year round. They understand money is a byproduct. We have a dude, LaMelo Ball, in high school or high school age with a Ferrari, right? Like we have him with his own signature shoe. The times are changing. And that's why I like what the Ball family is doing, because they're pushing that envelope. That's the reason why Jay-Z respects them, because we are living in a time where you control your own brand. Mm-hmm. Who is to say that these brands are end all be all, right? When you have kids that have Zion Williamson athleticism, you have dudes like not Otto Porter, Michael Porter Jr., Marvin Bagley. These guys that are coming that are going to be legit, right? Like I told you guys, Joel Embiid was legit day one. There's certain guys that, at least for me, I can look at and be like, these guys are legit. Pay them the money, give them the shoes, because it doesn't matter. These guys are going to be great. And I think that us trying to, or people in position of power trying to, incentivize, they're either going to work or they're not, regardless, right? Because look at where Andrew Wiggins is right now. Do you think he's really earned the money that he got? No. He was just a high draft pick. He's rated one of the worst defensive players in the NBA. He averages barely 20. He barely gets 5 rebounds, and he barely gets 2 or 3 assists a game. That is not max money numbers, but because he was a number one pick.
Right, and that's where the market is now.
Exactly. So why not just get this man the money early on then? Right? Like if you are struggling, think about it like this, right? Like, what if you were a small team, a small market team, And you can't get a free agent. You can't get you a Carmelo, right? You never drafted a Russell Westbrook so that way you can go trade for Carmelo and then Carmelo might stay and a Paul George might stay. Then these teams, these major market teams getting all these free agents, then you can just load up on young talent and keep them. If there's no salary cap, if there's no max contract, if there's none of that, draft, just buy your guys at a younger age.
Yeah, but you have to have the revenue sharing. And I think that's part of the teams aren't going to, the top heavy teams, the teams like the Lakers and the Celtics, who are traditionally better and have more money than the Sacramento Kings or maybe the New Orleans Pelicans, teams like that, they won't have as much money to spend. And the lure of retaining as well as keeping free agents, keeping and drafting free agents, drafting new players. I'm sorry. I think that'll be more difficult for them. That's just my thought on that.
But Kyle, okay, you said drafting, so take the draft out of your thought process.
Okay.
If, let's say Chicago, right? They went and got LeBron, DWade, and Chris Bosh.
Okay, so wait a minute. So are we talking new players coming straight out of college and high school?
That's what I'm saying, Kyle. Okay. So look, the major market teams are going to go after the big name players primarily, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm saying is that leaves the small market teams to now pick up, obviously at a discount. You're not going to pay Lonzo Ball what you pay John Wall, right? Like I think that the rookie scale, there wouldn't be a scale, but you're just not obviously going to pay rookie the same as you do a tenured player.
I got you.
So you can still amass talent at a cheaper cost.
And you know that might not be a bad idea. I think the only thing, well, I mean, obviously the biggest issue that you'll have is getting owners to buy in. I know this is a hypothetical situation, but getting owners to buy in on it, because obviously owners, if they give up something like that, they would want something else in return. And I just don't know, from a collective bargaining agreement, I don't know what they would get in return. But that's something to think about. And Ken, I do remember you talking about that before. Yeah, that's interesting, man. I hadn't really given it much thought, but that's interesting, because at one point in time, you're right, there was no rookie wage scale. You pretty much could, sign and rookies, I think, back in the big dog era, I think rookies were signing up to 7-year deals. But I think over the years, the CBA wanted to cut the length of the contracts. They instituted a rookie wage scale. And I think part of that was because there were so many guys who flamed out in those first 3 or 4 years. And owners were just like, okay, well, hey, we're not going to put a whole bunch of money into this guy, on his first deal, because he may not make it. And if he doesn't make it, then, we haven't lost as much on our investment, as opposed to, giving him a 7-year deal, $15 million a year. And, he doesn't turn out to be, the next great thing. So that's a good point. That's definitely something to think about. Let's see. Oh, moving on to our next topic. Before we even move on to the next topic, man, of course, there's 4 of us here on the podcast. One of us here on the podcast has a very close relationship with DWade, but did not break the news that DWade was going to sign with the Cavs. So I have a beef with the fact that I got somebody on this podcast who has a close relationship with DWade, but is not breaking DWade stories on this podcast. Kenneth, why did you not tell us that DWade was going to Cleveland?
I value our friendship. And if he didn't want it out, man, I'll respect that.
Ladies and gentlemen, you guys know Ken and DWade are very close. They talk all the time. They FaceTime and everything like that. They snap together. Ken has been spotted on the banana boat once. So I'll start with you, Ken. How much can DWade? We know the Cavs. They've got Isaiah Thomas. Obviously, Thomas, according to reports, will probably be on the shelf until at least January. But you got, a DWade coming off of, a decent year in Chicago. He kind of ran out of gas toward the end there, at the end of the season. Obviously his minutes are going to be cut back, but how much can DWade help this team as, Boston has squatted up, but here's another, another feather in the cap for LeBron, man. And he's teaming up with his buddy who, according to LeBron, it's like, having his best friend on his team again. How much can D-Wade help the Cavs?
I think there's value in playing with people you like. They obviously had a hell of a run during the Miami years. It didn't end the way they would have liked, but it was fun times. And there's something about playing with experienced veterans. And LeBron learned a lot from DWade Wade. DWade Wade basically, took him under his wing and taught him how to win. And, for me, man, it's like, he's just going back to show him how to do it again, because we saw what happened last year, and obviously, Kyrie is a weapon, and, Kyrie get buckets, but, Wade has that experience. Wade channeled Jordan to win a finals by himself in 2006.
Then he rode the coattails
from facing a. So yeah, man, I think it's going to work out well. I think they have enough depth to manage his minutes, and this is about the playoffs. This is all about the playoffs and having that experience of being battle tested, and it's going to be fun. It feels like it's back in Miami all over again, except they just can't jump as high.
Well, LeBron can.
Yeah, Wade ain't trying to jump like that anymore.
Hey, did you peep what LeBron said when there was a reporter that asked him, does it feel like a Miami reunion? And, can we expect like full court alleys and stuff? And he was like, well, one of us is still athletic. So yeah, he could throw him up to me.
Yeah, he said, having D-Wade on the team is like going back to school, and you walk into class for the first day and you see your best friend sitting in the classroom. You're like, man, what you doing in my class? Like that. So you can tell that, these guys obviously care about each other, both on and off the court, and the chemistry that they have. So it's definitely going to be interesting, man. FIFA, how much you think D-Wade can help?
I think he can help big time. It just adds to their depth, man. When you look at even the starting lineup, what Ty Lue is doing, it's all about Golden State, because that's the measuring stick. These guys, if you're not making moves to beat them, you're not contending. It's as simple as that. And with a starting lineup of D Rose, D Wade, LeBron, Jay Crowder, and Kevin Love, what does that tell you? We are playing small. Tristan's going to the bench, and we're going to be
damn.
Yeah, Tristan said he's going to try to go for Sixth Man of the Year, which is honorable. But at the end of the day, this is about wins. And I think everybody on this roster knows that when you have LeBron, it's not just about making the playoffs. It's about winning the championship. It's not about getting to the championship, because he'll get you there by damn self. He's already proven that even as an early 20-year-old, right? So he can get you there. It's about winning. And winning takes an organization. It takes a roster. And as much as I love Kyrie's one of my top 3 favorite players to watch. This team without him, because you replace Kyrie with IT and D Rose and D Wade and Jeff Green and Jay Crowder, that's 4 guys. 4 legit guys that are those tweener guys that can switch, play multiple positions, play outside, can attack the back. So that's the type of basketball that it's going to take to win a championship, and that's what Cleveland has. So D-Wade is going to add that championship moxie. D-Wade is going to give you spurts of greatness, because great players, no matter how old they are, they can channel for a game or two or some greatness in spurts. We've seen it with LeBron. LeBron is not the 22-year-old LeBron running around chasing down everybody, scoring 40-something. Nah, LeBron is definitely getting triple-doubles. LeBron is still athletic, but he can channel it. He knows when he needs to turn it on. He needs an extra boost. I need to go get this block. Forget all the other blocks. This is the one I need to go get, and he's going to go get it. And D-Wade can still give you that. So that's invaluable. the championship experience, invaluable. And going back to how Ken started it off, and B can attest to this, because me and B is hooping in the league right now. You want to play with people that you like.
True.
It just makes the game easier, and then for professional athletes, makes the job easier. Because obviously LeBron and DWade already have a synergy. Do you think that's going to change just because they haven't played together for like 3 years? Man, I'm telling you, these boys are going to be out here having fun. DWade ain't going to be catching no alleys, but he's going to be throwing a whole lot of them. I'm telling you.
True indeed. True indeed. What about you, B? Can DWade help the Cavs?
Yeah. Whenever you get someone like of DWade's resume, onto a team with LeBron, and what LeBron brings, what he does for the rest of his players, make them better. So, with DWade, the Asian DWade, I can definitely see him. I think they just need, in regular season, just let him coast to like anywhere between 55 to 60 games. Mm-hmm. Just get him prepared for the playoffs.
How many minutes do you think he'll play a night?
Probably
how many
about.
minutes would you play him a night? I guess
probably anywhere between 27 to 32 minutes a game, in that range. Because he figured this past year in Chicago, he averaged 29.8 a game.
Okay.
And then the year before that, 30.5. So, like I said, anywhere around that 27 to 32 range, I would keep him around there. And I wouldn't be surprised if he plays no more than, 58 to 61 games. Just make sure he's really, what he needs to be ready for is the playoffs. That's what he definitely needs to be ready for. Is just be ready for postseason so he can help LeBron and the rest of the company. Same thing with D Rose. I mean, because let's not forget D Rose can be injury prone. We hope we can get a healthy. If we can get a healthy D Rose, I'm not saying we need the 2011 MVP D Rose.
Right.
But if we can get a good healthy D Rose, that's just gonna make Cavs, look even more like some contenders, or that can compete up against the Golden State Warriors.
They just need D Rose of last season. This man averaged 18.5 points a game. He was number 3 guard and in the paint scoring. So if you can get to the rack still and finish and generate, collapses of defenses and kicking out.
Yeah, he just gotta stay healthy.
D Rose.
Yeah, just gotta stay healthy.
I didn't know he averaged 18.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
18.5.
Yeah, he just gotta
right, Kyle.
He just gotta. Yep, he just gotta stay healthy, man. I think Cleveland will be all right, man. It just be interesting how much health going to plays a part with these guys, man. I completely forgot they got Jeff Green over there as well. So you got some good defensive guys that can guard multiple positions in Jeff Green and Crowder. So yeah, this is gonna be interesting. I mean, I'm not saying they got DWade, that's over the top. They're gonna be Golden State, but it just makes for an interesting matchup, especially if the Cavs can stay healthy, throughout this whole season, or not throughout the whole season, but can be healthy by the time playoffs come. That's what counts the most. So that's what I'm really seeing, how D-Wade can kind of coast this regular season, especially with them kind of scaling back with the back-to-back games and stuff. So I just it's going to be interesting to see how Lou, monitored Dwayne Wade's minutes and how many games he played this year.
Yeah, I agree. I think he can definitely help. Especially considering the fact that, there's a lot of speculation that this could be LeBron's last year in Cleveland. I mean, we got plenty of time to talk about that, but I think this team, given when you look at what Boston did and bringing Kyrie and Hayward and some of the decisions that they made, I think Boston's giving up something on the defensive end. I think actually they're giving up a lot on the defensive end. So I'm not going to not pick the Cavs, to win the East at the very least. But like you said, I think it's their eyes are still set on Golden State, and anything that they can do to close the gap. I think signing a guy like D-Wade definitely helps. I don't think they can beat him, but I think that it definitely helps. But yeah, I think if he can be healthy and, like you said, 60 games, during the season, and, be playing well down the stretch, that's all they need. They need D-Wade to kind of get it together, especially coming down to All-Star break as they work IT back into the lineup and everything. I think the Cavs will be just fine. The NBA All-Star the All-Star game they've changed the voting. Actually, fans will still be able to vote like they normally do, but the two top vote getters in both the East and the West will become what they call captains. And from that point, the captains will select the teams after the alternates are picked. Here's the caveat. They will be able to pick players from either side, from the East or the West. So let's say in this case, let's throw out a scenario. Let's say that LeBron is the top vote getter in the East and Steph Curry is the top vote getter in the West. We could have a situation where Steph Curry, if he gets the first pick, he could pick somebody from the East. He could pick, I don't know, Kyrie if he wanted to. So with the format changing, it gives it more of a quote unquote playground style. Now, obviously, they still have to play the games, but B, what's your take on how the new look All-Star game is going to shape out?
I think it's cool. I mean, I think it's good to switch it up. I mean, All-Star Weekend, in my opinion, just hasn't been that. I don't know. It's different from when I was a kid growing up in All-Star. It seemed like the All-Star game meant something because the players used to really play. You know what I'm saying? It's like, this is just becoming just a show off doing stuff, you wouldn't do in the game. And, I don't know. It just, it's like over the last maybe 5 or 6 years, it just lacked that intensity. You don't really see that super intensity no more in the games like we used to see, back in the 80s, 90s, and even like early 2000s, man. It was some intensity at some point. But I don't know, man. I think it's great. I mean, I think it's cool to see something different. Like switch it up, kind of make us want to pay attention or see how this goes. I think it's nothing wrong with that. It goes back to FIFA original point made earlier on this podcast where Adam Silver again. I don't know if he has something to do with this. I'm pretty sure he did. It's best commissioner for him to just kind of, think forward thinking, switch things up a little bit. I think that's fine, man. I think that's going to be cool to see him do like a playground style, pick up basketball, type of pick. So I think that's cool. A little mixture of the East and West guys playing together and everything. So, hey, I'm all for it. I mean, it's just like All-Star Weekend. Yeah, okay, it's cool. It's like another weekend for me now. It doesn't feel the same like it used to be, but it's gonna be interesting. I'm a watch like just for that, just to see who picks what. And I hope they show us, them picking picking the guys and stuff. Each pick, one by one. So that'd be pretty cool too.
Yeah, from what I understand, they're not going to televise. I think that would have been dope, but they're supposed to be behind closed doors.
Dang, they should televise. I think that'd be fun if they televise it. That'd be funny as hell.
Yeah, well, you know what the cool part about that is, or the funny part about that would be who gets picked last. And
that's why it should be televised. Like I think
like you playing we all play pickup basketball. It's always interesting who gets picked last. So I mean, like if you're the last guy standing over there, if somebody's like, all right, Millsap, come on, get on my team, man. I really wasn't gonna pick you, man, but damn, you got to run with us.
That should be televised. That should be televised.
I agree, man. I think this is going to be I'm really interested to hear what Raph has to say about it. But I look, NBA being progressive, thinking outside the box, trying to do things different. They've heard the complaints and they're at least giving this a shot to see how it works. And I don't watch it. We've talked about it. We've covered the All-Star game. I don't watch the All-Star game. Like B, I'm going to watch the All-Star game because I want to see how this play out. And I think this should give them some drive to play harder than they have in the past. And I hope, man, the NFL got the same problem, but they just continue to roll out the same product over and over again. So I commend the NBA for doing something like this and just trying to do something different. This is a major, major change in how they're going to do the NBA All-Star game, and I'm actually looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think right before people go, yeah, like what you mentioned, the NFL. I've always been saying this for years. X out the Pro Bowl, do a skills challenge. Like I would love. Like, can you imagine in their prime, like Tom Brady and Peyton Manning having like a QB accuracy contest, a skill challenge, and Calvin Johnson versus Andre Johnson when they both was in their heyday. Like, can you, man, like stuff like that would be like, I think I would definitely tune in and watch that if I was to see like a skills challenge from like the elite players in their position go against each other. Man, that would be dope as hell. So, yeah, you know, NFL.
I'm with you.
I would love to see that because Pro Bowls, they not hit.
The Pro Bowls are guys are scared to get hurt and everything. Right. You know, the NBA and then, you know, also game, like Ken said, it's not like they've been playing lockdown defense or anything like that, and the games haven't been competitive. And I do remember, and this goes back to what you guys said, I do remember Adam Silver, the Monday All-Star game was played on a Sunday. The Monday after the All-Star game, the next day, Adam Silver, you know, came out and said something about he didn't like it. You know, he celebrated the All-Star weekend, but he said something about the competitiveness and the watchability of the All-Star game. And this speaks to what it is they're trying to do. So I'm all for it, man. What about you, FIFO? What's your take on it?
So for me, I think it's a major move on several levels. First of all, it's going to bring. Obviously, it's not going to be playoff intensity, but it's going to bring some more mojo back into that game, mainly because they're going to be playing for charity. And they're going to decide on the charity, the two captains, and then that's what they're playing for. So now it is going to be incentivized to try to win the game. Also, the whole captains thing, I definitely think they should televise it. I think that at the All-Star game, you should just introduce all of the All-Stars, and then you just have your captains pick them right there on the spot. Like, no, for real.
Hey, you trying to have a fight?
That would be dope, man. That would be so dope.
That'd be so dope. But I love the move. And again, another move being progressive, another move trying to improve the product, being in the moment now, real time. This is what people want. People don't want to have the same old antiquated thing. We want to be a part of the decision-making process, and we want something that's for the now. And this is definitely for the now. Adam Silver, man, look, he is, to me, by far the best commissioner in sports. Because whenever there's an issue in his sport, he identifies it, addresses it, and changes it. There's not a whole bunch of back and forth. Oh, what are we going to do? The rules, the history. Man, forget all that. Look, how we going to get people to tune in? And right here, we got two people that are already buying in to see what's going to happen because the concept is good. And you're bringing the competitiveness back to it. And on another note, I 1000% agree with the skills challenge. You know, like, can you imagine trying to see like Randy Moss and Charles Woodson go at it like 10 times in a row? Who wins it?
Man, that would be so dope, man. I would love to watch that, dude. Love to.
Yeah, that would be dope. They really should look into that because the Pro Bowl as constructed is just not good and it's not watchable at all. As always, man, we want to thank everybody for tuning in. Like I mentioned at the top, man, this is Dead End Sports. We like to get together and do this podcast once a week. We ask that you not just listen, but be a part of it. Make sure that you follow us in our movement. Hit us up on all the socials. We're on Twitter at Dead End Sports, Facebook. We're also on Instagram, as well as check out our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Dead End Sports. Now it's time for our final thoughts. Up to bat first, my man Beezy 430. Beezy, give us your final thought.
Just real quick, shout out to Judge for breaking the the Yankee rookie record, home run record.
Yes, sir.
Surpassing Babe Ruth. Think that's pretty dope. Young big dude out there cranking home runs out the park, man. I think that's dope. I love to see, I love to be living when history is being made, man. So, like I'm always a fan of stuff, of records being broken that hasn't been broken, in years and since before I was born or when my granddad was younger or something like that. Now I see it first full hand. The same thing with Russell Westbrook's triple double. Like that was just so dope to witness that. And my dad used to preach like, "Oh, that ain't gonna never happen. That ain't gonna ever happen." So, yeah, man. Shout out to Judge for breaking that rookie, for surpassing Babe Ruth for most home runs as a rookie, man. Hey, that's tough. That's tough to do. That's definitely tough to do. And you did it in the Yankee uniform. So, congratulations, brother.
No doubt, no doubt. FIFO, what about you? What's your final thought?
Man, thank God the NBA is back. Look, y'all already know. I watch primarily basketball and football, but more so basketball than football. So anytime basketball, like it was the middle of the football preseason training camp, everything. I'm still talking about basketball. The basketball is dominated year round, from Golden State to Cleveland to Kyrie to Carmelo to everything that's happening. So I'm just excited to see all of the same faces in new places, because it is crazy. Kyrie's out here moving the ball with his teammates, Carmelo and PG. Man, like this is nuts. The NBA is nuts, and I'm just glad that it's right here. We're in the midst of preseason, and the season starts in about a week or so. So I'm so happy. This is by far the best time in sports. You get baseball playoffs, you get the at least a quarter of the way into the NFL season, and you got the beginning of basketball. Man, you can't ask for more if you're a sports guy.
Which reminds me, coming up, we will be doing our NBA preview show, so make sure you stay tuned for that. Also, before I forget, man, weekly, and not just along with this podcast, but Ken and B do the fantasy football podcast as well. So make sure that you not only listen to that, but subscribe and share as well. Ken, what's your final thought?
I agree with Ralph about basketball now more than ever. Big basketball fan myself, definitely a little bit more than football. But now that I'm not watching football, I'm glad to have it. Definitely will be buying the league pass for the first time this year. So I'm going all in, man. Like I tweeted, I'm out on the NFL. I'm all in on baseball, on basketball. So I concur with what he said. But that's not my final take. My final take is about Giancarlo Stanton. Yeah, brother, you fell short. 59 home runs, didn't crack 60, and I got to be a hater. I got to be a hater because that's what yo ass get for disrespecting the legend Barry Bonds by saying that he did not have the home run record. Well, guess what? Neither do you. And you didn't even come close to the so-called quote-unquote real home run record. So that point is mute, over, done with. That just goes to show you how great Barry Bonds is, because you didn't even crack 60. You stopped at 59, and you had 2 days to go. So I got to be a hater, man, because I didn't like your comments. I didn't like your comments at all. So I'm glad you didn't crack 60 or get or hit 63. So that's what your ass get.
Hey, that's funny. My final thought, man, Ken, something you will not miss this coming Sunday is a battle of two 0-4 teams. I was going to call them the San Diego Chargers, but the LA Chargers and the New York Football Giants. The Chargers, I really don't know what to say, man. I found myself in talking about them for the past couple of days. I kept referring to them as the San Diego Chargers. And please forgive me if I, say that, a couple of times on this podcast going forward, because that's all I know. I know them as the San Diego Chargers. They have moved to Los Angeles, as you all know, and they're playing in a stadium where this past weekend they had a quote unquote home game in LA. And it was, I think the stadium seats maybe 27,000, but the stadium didn't sell out. So what they did was they took tarp and put it over like some of the seats that weren't sold out to make it look as if it was sold out. Maybe 25,000 people, but the team that they played against, the Eagles, one of the Eagles players said they had more cheering for the Eagles in the stadium than the Chargers did. And this was a home game for the Chargers. It's bad, man. A lot of people question the move. A lot of people question whether or not LA would need two teams and having now the Chargers and the Rams. LA is a tough place to sell football, to be honest, outside of college. And because for one, there hasn't been a pro team in LA for so long. I remember when the Rams were in LA back in the 80s, and they were dope, and they had great crowds. But the Chargers belong in San Diego, and given the lukewarm response that they've gotten in the time that they've been in LA, yeah, I'm not saying it's time for them to move back, but it's not a good fit. And to make matters worse, the team is 0-4, and they could possibly be 0-5 after this coming weekend. And things ain't looking so good in Southern California, man. It's just not good. So, Phillip Rivers, hate to see you go out like this, man, but they're looking pretty bad. And from the looks of it, they're not going to get any better. Thank you for checking out another edition of the Dead End Sports Podcast. As I mentioned, we like to do this every week for FIFO, for Ken, for B. I'm your host, 12 Kyle. We'll catch you guys next week. Peace.
Peace.
Chill.
Stop throwing tissue, Trump.